Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Joe, and welcome back for sneak peek number 3 of the Winter 2019 update. Town Hall 13 is getting a new defense, so we have the Scattershot. Now, quick disclaimer, this is a developer build. This is not my real account, and anything that you see in this video may or may not change upon the release of the update. So, on the left, you are seeing Scattershot level 1, and on the right, you are seeing Scattershot level 2. Now, the Scattershot is the only defense that is going to be new to Town Hall 13, and there's exactly 2 of them as you see built here. Now, as we get into the stats on this bad boy, you will have a damage per second of about 150 points with a range of 3 to 10 tiles, meaning that this is in fact an artillery piece with area splash damage. Targets, though, it targets both ground and air. Favorite target, any. So the Scattershot heaves very heavy bundles of poorly tied together rocks at whoever happens to be closest. The bundles break apart on impact and deal additional damage to the troops behind. And as we jump over to level 2, you will have a possible increase of about 30 points on the damage per second. So, I mean, this defense is actually really cool. So with the addition of the Scattershot at Town Hall 13, it will now have 3 artillery pieces. One, the mortar, the middle ground being the Scattershot, and the high tier being the Eagle artillery. So it's basically kind of like comparing the giant, the ice golem, and the golem. And that's really where this comes into play. The only difference is that this one has a rate of fire of about 2.5 seconds is about what I timed when I was playing with it. And from here, let's go ahead and get into some different troops that we can attack. Okay, so we have some very basic examples set up for you. That way you can see the Scattershot in action versus some melee troops. We have barbarians and archers. And I want you to notice that the archers on the back row are being taken out as well as the barbarians in the front row. So I really see this defense really covering down for troops like the witches, troops like the bowlers. It's going to make things quite interesting. Now, we did have some giants in here to add a tank in front of those. And you'll notice that the troops that are back behind the giants are also being taken out. So this defense dynamic is actually really neat to kind of cover for like the skeletons, and you notice how the witches are back behind the skeletons. You'll see that here in a second, but these defenses are just strong enough to take out the level 9 giants and clear the archers back behind. They also target air troops, so be aware of that. The dragons here are strong enough to take on these defenses, and remember, the one on the left is a level 1, the one on the right is a level 2, and that one on the right is doing sizable damage to that single dragon, and then the one on the bottom side is also taking a decent amount of damage. And as they move into the town hall, they will both be taken out. But again, that's a lot of damage done to a seriously heavyweight dragon. Now, we also added the witches in there just so you could see what this is like, with the skeletons in front and then that splash damage back behind the skeletons, doing some serious damage to those witches as well. And so this is something to take into consideration when you're thinking about using those mass armies like the bowlers and the witches. Moving into the queen, I wanted to just try out the heroes by themselves, and so we put the queen down. She's going to clear out these buildings because she does have the range on this defense, but you're going to see how much power this defense can do to this level 65 queen. Just putting a hurt on her is going to actually take her out. Her ability will be used, and then she will be taken down. And then back to the previous display with the original siege weapon, the new siege barracks. You'll notice that this one level 2 Scattershot is got just the right angle on it, getting some damage on both the P.E.K.K.A. as well as the wizards back behind it, taking out the wizards before the wizards are ever able to reach the Scattershot. So, I mean, this defense is actually really cool. Let's take a look at placement now. If you watched yesterday's video, we are going to use that same base, but we've incorporated the Scattershot on the base. We've placed it inside the base, and that's kind of where I envision it being used, but I'm definitely interested and curious to see how base developers put this thing into play once we get Town Hall 13 in game. So we have that same army that we used yesterday, and this is where I really feel that the Scattershot is going to reign supreme versus the witches and the bowler attacks, and maybe even dragon attacks. We'll see how that plays out in the upcoming future as well. But in this display, I got the same army we used yesterday to 3-star this base, but only this time around we have those new defenses incorporated and added on. And you'll get to see what the defenses do versus the witches. And let me go ahead and speed up to that point. We're go ahead and setting up the funnel. We got ice golems down, we got witches, we got bowlers, and you're going to notice that the scatter shot on the left side of your screen is already starting to target troops and do damage to the bowlers and witches. And that splash damage that kicks out back behind the rocks, that's going to be very interesting because it's going to be killing the witches before they ever make it into the base, or even damaging the bowlers before they get in there. Let me go ahead and speed it back up, and as you see the witches up on the northern point of the base, there's a group of witches, looks like there's some bowlers and ice golem. They're going to work their way around towards the eastern corner, and you're going to start seeing that second scatter shot put into action. It's going to start targeting those witches and start targeting those skeletons, and there it goes. It's going to clear the skeletons, and then it's going to retarget back towards the other direction. So it is a fast targeting defense. It's about 2.5 seconds from engagement to reload, and I mean, this thing is going to be nasty, absolutely nasty. Now, I wasn't able to 3-star. It did clear out this army quickly, so let's go ahead and try out a different army. Let's go ahead and jump into a Pekka Bobat and see how it does against the Pekkas. All right, let's go ahead and use the same base, same placement on the scatter shot, and we're going to use a standard Pekka Bobat army, very basic army with the electro dragons on the outsides, clearing and funneling, and those scatter shots. The placement is interesting on this one because you're going to notice that the scatter shot is also going to be targeting some of the Pekkas. It's going to be doing some damage on the wall wrecker, and so we got a Pekka assisting with the electro dragon over there, clearing out some buildings. We got the wall wrecker down, the king, and you'll notice that Pekka on the left side is going to work its way into a cannon's location, be targeted by the cannon and an archer tower, and then the scatter shot is going to assist with taking it out. So that scatter shot's doing enough damage to really put her hurt, and that's only a level 1. Now that level 1 scatter shot's also going to target the wall wrecker, do some damage on the town hall's location, and then the Grand Warden's ability is going to be used to carry our troops through that frost effect from the town hall, and then we're going to end up using a rage spell here in a moment. That scatter shot is going to fall. Now, one of my biggest concerns with this raid, I was really hoping to get the bats in on the second Scattershot's location, but it didn't quite happen. I need to verify whether the Scattershot will in fact target the bats or not. I mean, I would imagine since it's an air troop that it would in fact target them. The bats are going to be dropped on a single target Inferno tower. They're going to work their way out toward air defense and archer towers and expos, and then they're going to proceed on the outside of the base, which is going to cause our expos to retarget in towards the core. Now, unfortunately, well, actually fortunately for me, the troops did make it in on the second Scattershot, and my bats did not make it all the way there. So again, it's going to be very interesting to see how this defense is incorporated, but when it's tied into the bulk of the rest of the defenses, this thing is actually quite powerful, and it's going to be very interesting to see how base developers incorporated at Town Hall 13 and tied into where it really shuts down these witch armies and these bowler armies. We'll see how it works out in the future, though. I know a lot of you guys out there use them, and I really hope that it doesn't completely 100% shut it down, but I really feel like that's the direction that the game is going, but we'll see how it plays out. And if you have any questions of your own, go down in the comments below and ask away. I'll do my best to answer what I can. If you enjoyed the content today, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and we'll see you in the next one, guys. Take care.